All right, everybody, welcome back in. New fresh week, new fresh edition of Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast. Coming to you guys live from the third floor of the North Park building, Seneca Falls, New York, FingerLakes1.com. Russo and Kyle Evans, Nate Sharman manning the switches and stuff behind the scenes, and a Concrete Jungle first today.
First of many.
Hopefully. As he was behind the scenes last week, but Caleb gets brought up to the big leagues this week.
Something like that, yeah.
Nice little promotion for him.
But he's gonna be talking with us today a little bit, obviously, about the Yankees series in Toronto. You are a Blue Jay fan, so
wishing it was on better circumstances, but you know.
But we'll have your perspective, obviously, on the series and kind of what I guess has been like as a fan for you so far this year, kind of going up against the Yankees. But you're also going to discuss the other stuff with us for the Mets and Red Wings and S-Mets as well. So happy to have you behind the mic today and get you going. All right, Kyle. Good. Look, I know how the weekend was for you from a macro perspective, but other than that, everything went semi-smoothly, I suppose.
Yeah, it was a pretty good weekend, but not too happy with Apple. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's probably a story for another day. But yeah, I'm doing pretty well. How are you doing?
Good, Nate. How did everything go for you over the weekend?
Pretty good. I can feel for you, Kyle. Max always had a little bit of fun to deal with, but I can't imagine you not being around a computer. Were you itching a little bit, or had some?
Felt pretty weird yesterday without one.
I will say this: we didn't do it proper justice on Thursday, so happy belated Father's Day to everybody out there. Hopefully, everybody here treated your father or father figure well, as I call it. I know me and my dad went out and gambled what we do best, and he won and I lost, so it is what it is, yeah.
That sounds about right for you, Paul.
Yeah, it's par for the course. Anyway, let's get right into it. Plenty to kind of get to and discuss today. We'll start. We'll go with the Yankees. I know we started with them last Thursday, but we'll go with them first today. They just continue to roll at this point offensively, able to take the series in Toronto. But before that, they did have one game to finish off against Tampa Bay on Thursday. Through the chaos, that was supposed to be Severino's day to pitch. Was put on the COVID IL list for what, 18 hours, give or take, something like that. So in the chaos of it all, it ended up being a really good game for the Yankees. I don't think maybe if you're looking at it from a really big outside perspective, you see it as a 2-1 victory. Probably you see it as not much really happening there, but a lot did happen. We had the young pitching staff kind of having to step up in a big way. So obviously Michael King picked up the win, fourth on the year, moves to 4-1 at 2.55 ERA. Sean Armstrong for the Rays picked up the loss, but Clark Schmidt started the game, went 3 innings, only gave up a hit, had 5 strikeouts as well. I'm going to skip the last guy somehow on this, even though Rizzo had a very nice exclamation point, obviously, with the walk-off home run. But he went 2 for 4, had both RBIs, had a run, and also stole a bag. Tied for the league lead in stolen third bases this year. I know, at least from my perspective, I've always said, and I kind of follow, again, shout out to my dad here, but third base is the easiest bag to steal in baseball. I mean, hands down. And hey, I mean, credit to a guy. I mean, if you can get a good jump, go ahead and add it. But the real man of the hour with this game was Ryan Weber. He went 3 2/3, gave up 2 hits, did give up a home run and had a strikeout. But this was a guy who quite literally was plucked from Scranton morning of, had to get over to the Bronx. And look, did a job, and it sucks that he had to be the guy that got DFA'd at the end of the day for Severino to get back on the roster, but he knew what he had to do. in order to get it done, and just really did an outstanding job. I think not enough credit has been given to really him and probably him, King, and Schmidt together as a whole through what ended up being a pretty good weekend for the Yankees nonetheless. But certainly Weber and the other really 3 bullpen guys there in a really, really tough situation.
Yeah, the pitching was super impressive. Going into that game, I was a little worried. The Yankees already had taken the first 2 games. Severino goes on the COVID list, but the Yankees never made an excuse, and thank God for Rizzo with his 2 RBIs. But the pitching is the story of the game. I know the Rays offense is struggling, but like you said, Ryan Weber, hell of a performance on a short notice. I think he'll be back. I honestly do. I think he'll be back with Scranton eventually. But it is sad to see him get DFA'd after the game. But he kind of knew it. He knew it was coming.
I know. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, obviously he knew, and it doesn't make it any less, I think, difficult. I mean, he had a really good. It was a good outing. His big, what ended up being, I believe, his big league debut. And at the end of the day, it is a hard pill to swallow. At the end of the day, I mean, obviously, none of us have dealt with, obviously, from the MLB to AAA or vice versa or anything like that. But we've all been in situations where kind of like the stinging aspect of that certainly has happened. It's never easy or fun.
I mean, I've gotten lit up a good amount in Little League games. I've never gotten DFA'd, though, so that's
well.
good.
I'm
Good one, Nate.
a little bit different, but okay. Anyway, let's move on to Toronto here. Friday night, a 12-3 victory. Jordan Montgomery picks up 3rd win on the year, 3-1. It was a nice 2.72 ERA. Ross Stripling picked up the loss, 3-2, a 3.28 ERA. Before we jump into the stats, I do want to ask Caleb because Stripling was a piece a couple of years ago that when he came over from the Dodgers, I thought was a really nice pickup for Toronto. Was a guy that ended up kind of has had his struggles since then, admittedly, but this year has really found his footing really well. Was being used kind of as that flex guy, but now has kind of found himself in the rotation. And obviously I think, Toronto as a whole, to me, the rotation still at the end of the day is pretty good, but bullpen still needs a little bit of work. But, what were kind of your thoughts going into that Friday game, especially with Stripling on the bump and kind of having a pretty decent year so far, all things considered?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that their bullpen as well as their pitching rotation's significantly better than it has been. I mean, like last year, that was their problem, is they didn't have very good pitchers. I mean, their hitting's always been there recently, but the pitchers. But I mean, as far as Friday, I mean, like the Yankees are rolling. Like what here it was their best option to throw to see what they can get done. But at the end of the day, they kind of killed them. That's just they're rolling. What can you do?
Any thoughts, Kyle?
I enjoyed that game a lot.
I did not enjoy that game a lot.
Top performers, Anthony Rizzo, name that definitely has been part of the podcast more or less all day so far. 2 for 3, a home run, a walk, hit by pitch, 4 ribbies, 2 runs. Joey Gallo, 2 for 4, home run, a double, a walk, 3 RBIs, and 2 runs. And Taijuan LeMahieu, 3 for 5, a home run, an RBI, and 2 runs. So obviously, 2 names we've been used to saying really the whole year for the Yankees offensively, obviously with LeMahieu and Rizzo, but Gallo had a nice Friday night, still nowhere near really where I think anybody has hoped for him to be. Going to be still tough. I think he's still below the Mendoza line, and is what it is. But if this is a sign of some things to come, I guess I can't get all that worked up at this point, at least with him. I mean, I think we all kind of know what to expect with him at this point. I mean, as much as we don't like it.
It's better than an 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts. So I guess we'll take anything offensively from him.
Saturday, a 4-0 Yankee victory. Jameson Taillon, 8th win on the year, moves to 8-1, a 2.70 ERA. The rare loss for Alex Manoah, 8-2, a 2-flat ERA. Taillon went 5 2/3, 4 hits, 8 strikeouts. Hicks went 2 for 4, a double and 3 RBIs. And Rizzo once again 1 for 2, 2 walks and a run scored. That Saturday game, obviously, maybe not quite the offensive output, but ended up being certainly, I guess, a highlight of the pitching overall. Again, I think we talk about this with some guys. To me, it's more on the National League end of things. I know I mentioned last Thursday guys like Tyler Anderson, Carlos Carrasco, even from the Mets, guys who are having really good years and getting probably swept under the radar for the awards circuit at this point, for one reason or another. And, a guy like Manoah, who I think highlighted at the start of the year really well, but he has continued throughout the year so far. I mean, obviously this is, to me, I thought was probably collectively his worst outing, and it wasn't even like it was that bad. But
You got beat by Aaron Hicks.
right, but a guy that, to me anyway, should very well be in the conversation for Cy Young, in a good spot for the Yankees to kind of, again, like you said, I mean, really Aaron Hicks got to him, and it just one of those weird games, yeah. Manoah, he's such a fun guy to watch. He has certainly had his moments against the Yankees where kind of was a Yankee killer there for a little bit of that stretch run. But as you mentioned, I mean, it's weird. The Hicks debate and whatever else, I guess, really another interesting part of the Gallo, I guess, part in the outfield collective unit at this point. I know we'll say his name anyway with recapping Sunday's game a little bit, so I'm going to leave that at B for now. But, the Yankees have options if they really want to go to him. It will be interesting to kind of see if it happens here sooner than later to a degree, I guess.
Yeah, I have a feeling Joey Gallo is gone at the trade deadline.
All right.
I really do. Obviously, I'm sure we'll have kind of like a special episode with the trade deadline as we get closer, so that should be fun. But yeah, looking in the future, I don't think Gallo's part of this team for too much longer. Hicks, they're not going to move him. He's got a long contract, or what is he in the third year of his long deal, or second year?
I thought it was fourth.
Or fourth?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I guess it's been that long.
Four or seven.
I forgot he missed basically the entire season last year. But yeah, Hicks will stay around. I don't think Gallo's part of this team much longer. He's just he can't play in the Bronx. It's that simple. Some players just can't play in a big spotlight, and I think that's kind of the situation with him.
Throw it back down to Caleb here quickly. Obviously, I mentioned Manoah, but just like I said, it was a rare, rough spot for him this year. And like really Kyle mentioned, I guess it was really, one pitch, one out type scenario where it kind of burned him in the end.
No, I definitely agree. Yeah, it was, at least if he's going to drop a game, obviously he's 8-2 now, which is not, that's not too shabby.
Right.
But if he's going to drop a game, it might as well be to currently the best team in baseball as far as, they're running. How mad could you be that he had a decent outing against, a team that's just crushing everybody?
Right.
Yeah. If it was the Orioles, it would be a whole different conversation.
Exactly. Yeah.
So on Sunday, the Blue Jays did get one. Took what ended up being the de facto rubber game, I suppose. 10-9, absolute slugfest of a game. Yimi Garcia picked up the win out of the bullpen. Got his first, I guess, win of the year out of the bullpen. 1-3 now, 3.55 ERA. Wandy Peralta took the loss for the Yankees and 1 at 2.52 ERA. And then Jordan Romano picked up his 17th save of the year. Gleyber Torres, 3 for 5, a home run, 2 RBIs. I don't know what the hell I got going on there on that stat line. Marwin Gonzalez, 2 for 4, first home run as a Yankee, solo shot. And then Rizzo also picked up another solo home run as well. Just the Toronto lineup flatly, to me, just kind of woke up there about halfway through the game. Kind of what we really expected out of them. Collectively, I mean, Caleb, you mentioned, right? I mean, that's a lineup that we know can hit. It's a part of the team that we know can more than come through and do their job when they need it most. And certainly that was the case yesterday.
Horrible pitching. Miguel Castro and Wandy Peralta should be left in Toronto.
Jeez.
Throwing fastballs down the middle, changeups down the middle. Like, what are we doing? It's going to get hit. Toronto's offense is dangerous. So, right after the grand slam, you could just feel the momentum shift.
I mean,
even though the Yankees led by a run, you could just feel it shift. And then you leave Wandy Peralta to face all these righties in the heart of the order, which made no sense to me. I don't know what Aaron Boone was doing. And then he paid for it.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know necessarily about either the Peralta or Castro take there. I mean, they've both been really good, but
Castro's ERA is almost 4 now. So,
I mean,
And
Yeah.
and Wandy Peralta has been a lefty specialist. He comes in normally when 2 of the 3 batters in the inning are lefties. Well, not this time. He's facing the heart of the Toronto Blue Jays order. What do you expect? Hated the move. I know you can't win all the games, but that game is very winnable. You're up 8-3. Inexcusable loss there.
Throw it down to Caleb here.
I mean, I'd agree. Yeah, he's right.
Yeah.
I mean, but like you said, Toronto is dangerous as far as their offensive. I mean, but that's how they play. I mean, they had what Goriel opened it up, had a nice. That's kind of what I felt shift the momentum is where he gets a good poke out there and then it just changes, and that seems to be that's how they play. Like they just, whether it's him or it's Vladdy, that just changes the momentum, and that's how they go. The bats start working. I mean, their pitching was, I mean, really, they only had 7 hits in that game, which is still less than normal for them. That's below par. But I mean, they only had 5 the 2 games before that, both games. So I guess progress and going in the next series is better than nothing. But
So we'll, I guess, continue this discussion a little bit here before we jump into news and notes and stuff like that, because obviously I this will be, a team that obviously the Yankees see the rest of the year in Toronto. Obviously, as a Blue Jay fan, we'll probably be seeing each other, especially later on. To me, I mean,
I think they only have 9 games left with them,
yeah, but at the end of the day,
and they're 11 games out. So
Right.
will we see them?
well,
I don't know.
this is what I'm going to get at here. Obviously, the bulk of the schedule for each team now against each other, we've now moved into the second half of the portion of that. That being said, what that tells me, if you're Toronto, and obviously the Yankees too, I guess, to this degree, is you have the back end of what you'll be your, well, I don't want to call it worse opponents. I hate kind of putting that in the professional sense, because at the end of the day, I mean, they're all better than us. And what's interesting to note is I think we all enjoy kind of taking the proverbial poop on Baltimore, but they're already at 30 wins, 68 games in. I mean, they're 30-38. They're a hard team to get out. They're still a very good bullpen at the end of the day. As another fan of a team in the AL East, what's your kind of thoughts at this point? This is arguably, I jokingly make the saying that to me the NL West is kind of the division of death at this point, but I think top to bottom it might be the AL East.
I mean, it's like just from a Toronto perspective, it's nice to see them winning finally.
Yeah.
Obviously above 500. They're almost they're like 576 is their win percentage, I believe. Something
Yeah,
like that.
something like that.
I mean, but of course, it seems like every year Toronto picks it up and does well. The Yankees are smashing, which I mean,
Yeah.
that's what.
How about the Red Sox? I believe they're 21-10 over their last 31 games.
They've lost ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're actually playing really well, and nobody talks about them because, I mean, look at the AL East, it's that stacked. And the Rays, I don't think the Rays are the same team that they've been. They just lost a series of the Orioles. Their hitting is just, I don't know, their hitting is just really bad. Pitching is still really good. But yeah, it's pretty competitive. If the Yankees weren't on like a historic run right now, it would be a much tighter division right now. But with the extra wild card team, Toronto and probably, I don't know, I think Boston's going to finish better than Tampa Bay. So I think Toronto and Boston could be wild card teams, but we'll have to see.
I think my next question here, I want to leave it on the Blue Jay front for just a second, because I mean, as much as this is a New York podcast, but I do like talking about the game as a whole. When Toronto a couple of years ago did make the move to more or less move on from Farrell and everybody else and Gibson and kind of that portion of that regime, as I call it, you bring in a guy who I was a big fan of in Charlie Montoyo, who great baseball mind. He had been with Tampa Bay. I remember seeing him probably a decade or so ago now, managing Durham, their AAA team in Rochester, a couple of different times. Gets up, becomes pretty much third base coach, bench coach under Cash, takes this job with Toronto. Don't get me wrong, I think he's great. Do you think he's the man at this point to really take the next step with the team, or is he taking them as far as he can, given the way he coaches and his style, do you think?
I think he might be. I mean, he's a good step in the process,
Yeah.
but he might not be the the end all be all team that's going to get them higher up or finish into the playoffs or maybe even get to a World Series within the next 100 years hopefully. But I mean, he's everything we've seen from him. He's a good manager. I mean, he hasn't hasn't given us any reason to doubt him at this point,
Right.
really. I guess no bad news is good news,
Right.
really. I mean,
Yeah. No, I certainly agree. I think it's just, like I said, I think there's always different types of coaches and managers for certain situations and stuff like that. But, I always, at the same time, I'd like to see that guy who got them there in the first place try and have that opportunity to capitalize. So,
absolutely.
remains to be seen. But Toronto, I think, is going to be a thorn in the side anyway the rest of the year. I think that the offense is just too good at the end of the day. And obviously, I really do think their rotation is, when they're on, they're about as good as you can get. Admittedly, I still chuckle at the bullpen a little bit, but look, I mean, you got a guy. I mean, Romano has been one of the really great stories to kind of see how he's more or less bounced back from a rough start to his pro career at the big league level. And, they got a couple other guys too out there like Mayweather. Simber's still really good. So hopefully for your sake, they get, somebody at the deadline that's not Brad Hand or Kirby Yates or
And
I had to. I'm sorry. I saw his name pop up the other day. I'm like, ha. All right, news and notes. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is dealing with a left hamstring issue, a little bit of soreness, but they believe he should be available today, but no final determination will be done after they have an evaluation prior to first pitch tonight in Tampa. Aroldis Chapman will throw live batting practice in Tampa this week with the Yankees down there taking on the Rays. Zach Britton will throw a bullpen session in Tampa. Remains to be seen if it will be at Tropicana Field or at the Yankee Spring Training Complex across the bay, officially, technically in Tampa. And then the Yankees signed shortstop Chris Owings to a minor league contract, yet to be officially determined. I believe he will end up in Scranton, though, but that's just organizational depth. Nothing really to see there, nothing to concern anybody about.
one more note: Domingo Germán will start a rehab assignment.
Oh.
With the Tampa Tarpons later this week.
Okay, how about that?
I think Wednesday or Thursday.
Very late breaking on that one, then.
Yep. Well, Boone actually mentioned it during his
Oh.
pregame availability yesterday, but it just wasn't put out there.
It was not. It was not.
Just because there's not a specific day yet, and we already knew that he's close to a rehab assignment, so nobody really said anything about it.
It was not put in their injury report. I'm very disappointed in the Yankees.
So
with
yeah,
that one.
Thursday we probably will be able to talk about it.
Yeah. Good to see. Yankees, as I mentioned, they have 3 games against Tampa in the Tropicana Field this week, starting today through Wednesday. Rays are 36th and 33rd in the AL East. This is a team that I don't think many of us kind of expected to kind of be where they're at, more or less fluttering, but they have been dealing with some injury issues. And frankly, they're kind of testing the waters on some guys, as I call it, to see who will more or less sink or swim in their vast pool of middle infield prospects at this point. Tonight, 7:10 first pitch on Yes. Garrett Cole, 6-1, a 3.33 ERA, going against Shane McCallahan, 7-3, a 1.84 ERA. Should be, in theory, probably the best game head-to-head wise all series. Again, as I call it, a pitching ninja delight if you want to go with it. Tomorrow night, Tuesday on 7:10 on Yes. Technically TBA on both sides, but we tracked it out as to being probably Nestor Cortez for the Yankees, 6-2, a 1.94 ERA. Don't know who it would be for the Rays. That was Beeks the last time through the order, which would have been a bullpen game. So I don't know if that's what they're going to do because, to give away Wednesday a little bit, another 7:10 first pitch on Yes. Jordan Montgomery going for the Yankees against, the Rays do have Shane Baz back in the rotation. He's 0-1 on the year, a 5.40 ERA. So, I'm not too sure what we'll see Tuesday from the Rays. Again, I'm going to go out on a limb and probably just say bullpen game from them of some sort, whether it's Thompson getting the bulk of the load or Beeks again. So, who knows? Or maybe Ryan Yarbrough just gets recalled back up. I mean, you never know. That being said, the Yankees just have a way of never really being able to sweep the Rays. So I'd like to imagine 2-1, but I could see this somehow being a 1-2 series record for the Yankees, full things considered.
Yeah, well, considering they just swept them a few days ago,
Right.
yeah, I don't see them sweeping again. I say 2 of 3.
Mm-hmm. Any guesses down there, Caleb? betting man?
Oh, he's probably going to say they're going to get swept.
I don't think they're going to get swept, no. I think they win the series, though.
All right. Move on to the Mets now, as we are semi-falling behind, but it is what it is. It's always good to have another voice, as I say. Mets, they've taken on the Marlins all weekend. It's a 4-game set. Fourth game, rather, is this afternoon, so we'll touch on that here in a minute. But Friday, a 10-4, big victory for the Mets. Cookie Carrasco moves 8-2, 3.96 ERA. Taking the loss, Pablo Lopez really come on pretty decently as of late after a rough patch through May. 4-3 at 2.85 ERA. Lindor, 1 for 3, a home run, 4 RBIs total, 2 hit by pitches and 2 runs scored. Pete Alonso also collected a home run, and Carrasco went 6 1/3, 8 hits, 3 earned, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. It's kind of the Mets lineup that we kind of expected them to have, and I guess the pitching performance that Carrasco has really done all year. Again, I mentioned Carrasco as being one of the names that I don't think is getting enough credit. He has really had to step up with the injuries that the Mets have had in the rotation so far this year. And we have another one to kind of discuss here in, another couple minutes or so. But look, it's good seeing as well kind of your main name offensive guys, your show headlining guys, and whether it's, like I said, Lindor, obviously Pete Alonso as well, kind of step up in a big way on Friday night and do what they did.
Yeah, that was a good series opener. Lindor continues to hit the ball really well. Alonso, obviously, I believe Alonso leads Major League Baseball in RBIs right now. I think, what is he, 64 or maybe even more now? He's got a lot.
I can't remember because I know J-Ram had it, but he got hurt over the weekend.
Yep.
So can't remember 100%
So yeah,
sure.
bottom line is Alonso keeps producing with runners in scoring position, and he's hitting the ball out of the park. And Lindor and Alonso are pretty much the highlights of the offense. Although Jeff McNeil's had some big games as well. But yeah, it was a good way to start the series.
All right. Saturday, 3-2 victory for the Mets. Taijuan Walker picks up the win, his 5th on the year. He was a 5-2 and a 2.88 ERA. Braxton Garrett, young rookie, picks up his 2nd loss, 1-2, a 4.85 ERA from Sugar Diaz. Picks up save number 14. Your top performer, Taijuan Walker, 6 2/3, 2 hits, an earned run, and 9 Ks. Mark Canha went 1 for 2 with 2 walks and a run scored. And the highlight really of the weekend, Francisco Lindor hit a home run in front of his mother. Wife able to arrange and get that done for him, so it was really cool to see. Tighter game. I mean, the Marlins are a team that I mentioned on Thursday, hanging really tough, a really tough out as of late. And Mets able to do what they were able to do. And, obviously, Taijuan Walker not in the Cy Young conversation, probably not yet anyway. Was out for obviously a few weeks with injury, but again, another guy who's had to step up, especially in this rotation, given the injuries that they've had so far.
Yeah, he's done a really good job. He struggled at times, but all pitchers do, and the Mets just continue to have injuries with their rotation. So when he steps up like that, it's really big. I don't know. I think he's, other than Carrasco, he's kind of been the biggest surprise in the rotation. Tyler McGill, obviously, we'll talk about him in a minute. He started off the year really well, but injuries just kind of hurt him. But overall, the rotation's done really well without their 2 really best pitchers. So,
and then I know Taijuan Walker as well, a nice goodwill act, able to cover the cost of all the, I believe, Pride Month shirts and gears at Pride Night on Saturday for the Mets as well. So good for Taijuan. He's one of the notable good guys in the MLB. So a guy that I always enjoy rooting for and kind of seeing do well. Sunday, yesterday, the lone loss so far for the Mets. 6-4, they dropped that game. Sandy, probably is his Cy Young at this point. Alcantara, 7-2 on the year, 1.72 ERA. Chris Bassett picks up his 5th loss, 5-5, a 4.03 ERA there. Bassett, all things considered, did pitch pretty well in my opinion. This was a really good stat line. Goes 6 1/3, 5 hits, 3 earned, and 9 strikeouts. Just bullpen kind of let him down a little bit there once Bassett came out. Pete Alonso went 1 for 3 with a double and a walk. and Lindor picked up a hit and an RBI. So, kind of, was kind of, I guess, an encapsulated game of what has been the Mets' kind of downfalls all year in a way. In all honesty, like I said, you get me a guy who can go 6+ like Bassett did and only give up 3 runs. Give me that, 10 times till Tuesday type deal. Just again, kind of the spot we've been talking about with him, this bullpen spot where it leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah, Seth Lugo gives up a go-ahead grand slam. I'm not sure if it was two runs, but at least one of the runs that is on Bassett's line was from the grand slam, because he put the runner on to start the inning. But, yeah, Seth Lugo kind of imploded. The Mets did just score 2 runs, but I guess they could have scored some more runs. But the pitching really, the bullpen basically kind of just didn't show up. Right. So that's why they lost.
True outsider perspective. Caleb, what's been your, I guess, thoughts on the Mets so far this year? We all kind of, I guess, tab in the way that they've been over the course of the past year with Steve Cohen now having full control and kind of managing, again, the money down pat, and a guy like Buck Showalter. What have your thoughts been so far on what, I don't know if I want to class them as being a really true surprise team, but I guess being as good as they have been, as deep as they are now anyway, given some injuries and key players, whether it's getting hurt or not, performing to the standard that they have or should be.
It's definitely always nice to see, obviously it's not nice to see people get injured, but then you have people who step up because of injuries. That's always nice to see in a team, no matter who it is. But, it's nice to see the Mets performing well. Like Kyle said, they're playing 500 ball pretty close as of late. That's, obviously as good as you can be without being bad. So,
right.
How much can you complain about it?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you just mentioned, with all these injuries, their depth is really stepping up. And their I think the biggest difference really is their start. If they didn't jump out to such a big lead, I really don't know if they're in first place right now. That's how big that start was in April and May. And now if, they play 500 ball, it's not the end of the world. And that's kind of what's been happening the last 2 weeks. So they're still in a good spot.
Yeah, let's touch on their news and notes. Not as big or in depth as probably the Yankees, but I guess to that end, Kyle, no news, good news type deal, as you would say, for the most part. But Max Scherzer did throw a successful bullpen session over the weekend. The Mets are now going to allow him to make rehab starts. Remains to be seen officially where he will be.
That would be pretty cool if he got to play in Rochester this week.
Rochester.
Well, as I always say, I need to preface it this way. It all depends where the big league club is. And that's the tough part with coming up for the Mets, where they kind of bounce between home and away series coming up in the length. I'll touch on that here, obviously, in a second. That being said, we mentioned Tyler Maygill. He was placed on the IL, got pulled from the game Thursday with a right shoulder strain. Adonis Medina was recalled from AAA Syracuse. Maygill's going to be shut down for 4 weeks minimum and then reevaluated at the end of the first 4. They're hoping he'll be back sometime mid-August. Really rough stretch for Maygill. Really good start to the year. Now it's been a couple of injuries back-to-back that will be sidelining his sophomore season pretty much now for the better part of half of it, unfortunately, at this point. Again, one of the bright spots early on from the Mets, and just can't quite shake that injury bug right now.
Yeah, it's really tough. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, he was off to such a good start. He was stepping up with a couple of their starters going out, and then he comes right back. I think that was his second start when he just left with the shoulder strain. So just tough news for him. He couldn't stay healthy. Hopefully in 4 weeks he gets good news and he can resume throwing and just come back later this year and kind of be another depth piece, because they'll probably have Scherzer back and eventually DeGrom. So I don't know how much longer he'll be in the rotation, but pitching out of the bullpen, he'll still be a really good depth piece.
Right. And then obviously we've been mentioning a couple different times about how the bullpen for the Mets has been kind of everywhere. Jake Reed was the option back to AAA Syracuse, and a name that at least Buck Showalter knows pretty well. Tommy Hunter got recalled and brought up to the big league club. So again, they're kind of testing out a couple different bullpen arms to kind of see what can happen here and what they can really make work and stick. They also designated second baseman Goski Kato for assignment. He had been more or less minor league depth all year, so be interesting to kind of see what happens with that. One game left against the Marlins today. It's a pretty big pivotal one in a 4-game set. It's a 1-10 start today. Trevor Rogers, 3-5 on the year, 5.87 ERA. Guy who fallen off this year after a couple of really good consecutive seasons for the Marlins coming on. He'll be going against Drew Peterson, 3-1, 3.60 ERA. Much to the chagrin potentially of Kyle, I do think they get the win here. I'm a big Drew Peterson guy. Drew Peterson truther at the end of the day here.
The Jazz Chisholm game.
Oh,
Watch out.
okay. Caleb, what do you think?
I think they'll win with Cookie Carrasco, but they might lose the other game.
Oh, okay. You looked ahead.
Oh, I jumped ahead on you. Yeah.
It's okay.
Apologize.
Yeah.
2-game series in Houston. That's what I mean, though, by the rehab. I mean, the Mets have a really wonky schedule. There's 2 games tomorrow and Wednesday against Houston. Houston 41-25 first in the AL West. 7:10 first pitch tomorrow on SNY and TBS if you don't get one or the other. To be announced for the Mets, this was Mayfield's spot. Don't know what the full exact plan would be. Either way, the Mets will be facing Jose Urquidy, 5-3, a 4.99 ERA, and then Wednesday getaway game, a 1-10 start. Cookie Carrasco against Luis Garcia. I will go split against Houston though. And I don't know. I think that Tuesday game's a big question mark. Obviously, with not too sure where the plan is exactly yet with that. So I'm with Caleb. Split.
Sweep.
Oh, Houston's going to take both.
Yep.
All right.
At home. So
We'll move on. We're running up against the clock here, so we'll have to make this as quick as we can, I suppose, with our local teams, the Red Wings and the S-Mets. Red Wings are 37-29, now second in the International League East. Rochester dropped the series in Scranton. They're fourth on the season, second consecutively. They were able to pick up a couple wins though on the way, which is pretty key. They were on an 8-game losing streak there at one point, so all things are considered good there. However, big kudos. Matt LeCroy reached a pretty big managerial milestone in the minor leagues. I believe was managerial win number 700 in the minor leagues. So kudos to Matt LeCroy. Guy's a baseball lifer, great baseball IQ. Had the pleasure of trying to win an autographed hat from him back in the day when he was in Rochester. Couldn't quite get it done, but you know what you got to do. That being said, a couple news and notes. Pitchers Curtis Taylor and Carson Teal were assigned from AA Harrisburg at the end of last week. Corey Abbott and Yohan Adon were recalled at one point, and then Andres Machado was optioned only for the next day. Machado was recalled, and Adon was optioned back down again. So interesting stuff going on there. Pitcher Danny DePico was assigned from AA Harrisburg, and shortstop Junior Martina was assigned from the Florida Gulf Coast League Nationals as well over the weekend. So a couple more reinforcements coming for Rochester as, again, Washington kind of figures out where they're exactly at. Then for Syracuse, they took the series in Norfolk last week against the Tides. So a nice series win there. Took 4 out of the 6. For them, again, not a ton of news, but some news. Rob Zatrani was activated off the IL, and then pitcher Alec Kisna and outfielder Quinn Bodie were signed from AA Binghamton. So all going good with the S-Mets. And then I believe it's the 3rd edition of the year of Rochester and Syracuse, second time at Frontier Field this week. Kyle, I know you're going to be heading up that way at some point this week once you kind of get everything figured out, unfortunately,
yeah,
with your technology. But
Yeah, good
Yeah,
old
but
Apple.
you're looking forward to it, though. I know this is a pretty exciting time for you with that.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun covering the team in person. It's going to be a lot different than just kind of following the stuff on my laptop. So, looking forward to being in Rochester for probably a few days this week.
Yeah. I know this is one of the few weeks that me and Nate won't be able to head up at all for any of the games, really. But
Maybe next week.
that being said, true, they are home next week.
12-game homestand.
Yep.
So a lot of baseball.
Rochester and Syracuse. Syracuse.
The Woo Sox next
as well.
week?
Yep. Woo Sox are next week. S-Mets are home next week as well. But if you head out to the ballpark this week, Bark in the Park and Sasquatch appearance tomorrow. So I don't know what these poor dogs are going to be feeling as the Jack's Lynx Sasquatch makes. Look, I'm a dog person. I'm a beef jerky person. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and question professionals. It's a bold choice having them on the same night, though. Nothing on Wednesday. It's a day game. Thursday, Duel of the Dishes. So that means it's going to be the Salt Potatoes versus the Plates. Fireworks and Marvel's Defenders of the Diamond Night on Friday. And then Negro League Night on Saturday with Bad Dog Milo and Fireworks. So looking forward to that fun week. Caleb, I know you're closer to the Syracuse side of things. Have you been up to Frontier at all, or recently anyway?
Yeah, actually, I don't think I've gone this. No, I haven't gone this summer, but
Okay.
last year I went a bunch because it's a great place to watch a game.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
There's no bad seat in it.
No.
I mean, as far as the Duel of the Dishes day, I mean, I'm more of a Syracuse guy, salt potatoes, but you can't beat the Plates. I mean, you can't beat that food.
I don't know what to make. I mean, I'd like to see. I don't know. How do you figure out how to properly phrase this? I like both teams. They've been really good to us so far at the moment. They split. How about that? They split. Perfect.
I got Rochester winning the series.
Oh, gosh. I just hope they all have
ready
fun.
for this. 5 of 6.
Wow. All right. Okay.
They bounced back in a big way after a tough road trip.
True. Oh, I just realized, too, because I have the schedule pulled up for Rochester. The place where people go to work night, because we can't say that copyrighted one, actually, is next Wednesday. I believe Kate Flannery is making an appearance. Yeah, so.
They've put up some incredible videos on Twitter.
Yeah,
they're prepping it for that.
That
They've put
social
some
media
really
team
good
is
ones.
not missing.
Yeah,
right
they don't
now
miss.
with that, so. All right, Caleb, appreciate you coming on behind the mic here and discussing some things with us. Hopefully we'll have you chime in from time to time throughout the summer while you're here with us again. Appreciate
Absolutely.
you coming
Thanks
on.
for having me on.
It was a good debut.
Yeah.
4 for 4 with 2 home runs.
All right, for the sake of we have to get out of here, we have to get out of here. So, Kyle Evans, Nate Sharman, I'm Paul Russo. Appreciate Nate again for manning the stuff behind the scenes and all the camera work. We'll be back on Thursday, I believe at 11, so make sure you do that. Catch up anytime on YouTube, watch there. Listen on Anchor and Spotify. You can also watch on Spotify too now, so got that going for us. Until then, have a good week, everybody. We'll talk to you Thursday.